Because I never want to write a song that is just pure, raw sadness. I think poverty puts people into survival mode, and survival mode often leaves people behind.
All right, guys, so we're sitting here in Grand Junction at Sherwood Park, and I have the pleasure to sit down with the one and only Misti Dawn. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. I've been talking to you about this for a while, so we finally get to sit down here together.
Yeah, I'm glad we did.
That's pretty cool, and it's a beautiful day out here. I've only done one video interview outside, and that was when I went to LA and visited with Haven AQ, which is a really awesome artist.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of more dynamic when you're outside because you can't control the light, you can't control what's going on, so it's a little bit more of a freestyle.
Or that bird.
Or that bird.
That bird over there.
Hey, bird! Okay, all right, Misti. So we're going to talk just a little bit and get to know each other.
Yeah.
And hopefully the fans out there get to know you a little bit more throughout the process. But so we're here in Grand Junction. Are you from Junction, or where are you from?
I am. I was born here, but when I was young, when I was 5, we moved to California, and I lived in a tiny little town called Palomar Mountain.
Palomar Mountain.
Yeah.
Is that northern, southern?
It's actually southern.
Yeah.
Most people don't know about it unless you're into astronomy, because they have an observatory that has the telescope that discovered the Hale comet.
The Halley Comet? Is that the okay, all right.
Yeah.
And what's that city called? Town?
Palomar Mountain.
Palomar Mountain. Cool, cool. Is that close to LA?
No, it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours from San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
So you lived down there, and that was with your mom and dad, or?
Yeah, my mom and dad and my sister. And we lived in the middle of the woods.
Cool.
Spent a lot of time in the woods.
And how old were you during those days?
5 to 13.
Oh, cool. So you got to really enjoy like your youth in the...
Yeah, you could say that. It's funny because I feel like I am a little bit out of touch with the rest of the world, because 5 to 13, I basically lived in the woods.
Right.
Not truly homeless, but for part of it we were homeless.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just very isolated. Not a bad way, it's just different. But isolated from a lot of the pop culture.
Yeah. And that's so 13, that's when you're really kind of coming into yourself, you know, you're really starting to connect with friends and understand what peers are doing and style and all that kind of stuff. So at 13, where did you move to then?
We moved to Mesa, Colorado.
Mesa. That's up on the Mesa, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh, big old tough motorcycle.
Yeah.
So you went from living in the woods to basically living
in the woods. Yeah, yeah. And then because we had lived in California before that, a lot of the people in Mesa and Colburn, because of course went to the school in Colburn, they were not very friendly to me, because they're like, oh, you're a Californian girl. And really, I had just been like living in the woods pretty much my whole life as far as I was concerned. So it was an interesting dynamic going to school there.
I hear that. When I was speaking with Gonzalez about that, she spent some time in California, and she kind of got that from.
It's a lot of hatred.
Yeah, I spent some time growing up in California too, and I never really experienced that. They hated me for other reasons.
Sure. But, people will find a way.
But Coloradoans aren't really too fond of Californians.
No,
it's just
not at all. Even if you lived somewhere that's not at all like your typical Californian stereotype.
When I'm driving and someone's driving like an idiot, I always look at their license plate and I'm like, they're either from California or Texas. Seems
sure.
Like.
Sure, I've heard that.
Apologies to all my friends out there in California and Texas. But so Mesa, and then you eventually kind of found your way.
Yeah, I ended up getting a scholarship to what was Mesa State at the time.
Yeah.
And then I moved back to Junction and lived with my grandma for a while, and little by little I've been trying to work my way out of Grand Junction, just haven't made it yet.
Is that what you want to do? Is that your ultimate goal?
I'd love to travel around.
Yeah.
Wherever I ultimately end up is wherever I end up. I'm really not committed to one specific place, but
That's cool. That's
currently I'm here for my daughter. Cool. Eventually I'll move around.
And how old is your daughter?
She's 9.
She's 9. That's a precious age, man.
Oh yeah, she's so fun.
Just experiencing the world.
She's
And she still loves you, I'm sure. You know how the kids get up when they turn like 13 or 14. They want to hang out
Absolutely.
with mom.
Absolutely. My 16-year-old moved out a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, she's 18 now.
Okay.
But yeah.
So was she did she go through a phase where she was like, I need to do my own thing?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always the rough thing about adolescents is because they're kind of still kids, but they're also kind of adults. So they're
absolutely.
in this like middle place where they're.
It's hard. It's hard growing up.
Yeah, it's a scary time for parents, especially because you always look at them as your babies, you know.
Mhm. It's heartbreaking on many levels, but it's also so rewarding to watch them grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where's she at now?
She lives with her dad, and they are in, I want to say, like the Eagle area. I'm not sure. They just recently moved.
Up towards
Yeah.
the Divide area.
Yeah.
Cool. So here in Grand Junction, and as people might know, we didn't mention it earlier, but Misti Dawn is a musician, and she's here in Grand Junction. And she is part of, I guess they call the scene, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so, how long have you been in the scene, so to speak?
Well, it's funny because you can be in the scene and not really feel like you're in the scene. It's an odd dynamic because I know that I'm known, but I also, like last night I had that gig and people are like, oh, is this the first time playing solo? And it's like, nope, it's not, but thank you for being here. Like, it's just like, and I know it's not at all a bad thing that people are noticing, but I've been here a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started playing music when I was 10, and then when we moved back here into Colorado, we were a family bluegrass band, which I escaped and took a break from music for a while because even though it sounds like a cool thing, it's not always a cool thing. But I learned a lot, and it helped make me what I am today as far as musically speaking.
So you write your own songs and you play the ukulele, right?
Yeah, and mandolin and guitar.
Okay. Because I've seen you play the ukulele, and I'm not like, I don't really know the difference between a ukulele and there's another smaller guitar. What's it called?
Oh, there's a few of them.
Is there?
I can't think of what it's called at the top of my head right now either.
So you play the strings?
I do.
And did you always play the strings? Is that always kind
Yeah,
of
well, I started on violin, but I had a hard time with it, and so then I switched to mandolin.
Okay.
And that became my primary instrument. And then a couple of years later, I picked up guitar. And then about 10 to 15 years ago, I picked up ukulele.
That's kind of what I see you. I've seen you play a few times, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of. I really like finger picking on the ukulele and different combinations of finger picking and strums and slides and like little hammer-ons and pull-offs, all those fun things. Yeah. They're a little easier on the ukulele than they are on other instruments.
So you mentioned how and I think other artists in the area kind of feel that way, where that they're really not in this. They're in the scene. They're known, but they're not really in the scene. Yeah. What does that feel like to you?
I think artists in general are kind of moody, and we're all a little bit self-conscious at times or anxious at times. We don't always feel like we fit, even if we do. I just think it's kind of an artist's dilemma.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It's the artist's mind. It's so critical. We're all so self-critical. It's hard. It's not healthy, but it might be necessary in some ways because it really pushes you to be creative.
Yeah.
You always want to do better.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I just focus on covers just because it's a little bit easier. You don't have to examine yourself quite as much with covers, and you can kind of fly under the radar and not have to do a lot of that hard inner shadow work, that originals make you do.
Yeah. And your originals are definitely going deep, so
thanks.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I appreciate that. So here in the scene, what are some of your local favorites that are of artists that are around that you've
nice. Good question. I really enjoy Peach Street whenever I get a chance to see them. Of course, now my mind's going to go blank now that you asked me that question. I really enjoy live music.
Yeah.
I always appreciate hearing something new or a new take on a cover or an original song. Or whenever I see an instrument I don't usually see very often, or a different take on how you not just your typical I'm gonna strum these 3 chords. I like a different take on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Peach Street's pretty badass, man. I think
they're very dynamic.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And Gonzalez
yeah.
is such a great performer.
Absolutely.
It's
There's a lot of great performers in this area.
There really is.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent.
So I know that you did your show last night with Ryan's production company.
I did.
What's his production company called?
Tinnitus. Oh, geez.
Tenacious.
Something like that. Tinnitus, tenacious.
Tenacious Tinnitus.
Yes, I can picture the flyer in my head.
Right.
And yeah.
Right. What's your relationship like with Ryan?
Oh, good. We've been in the same circles for years.
Mm-hmm.
We've shared a few shows together, not very many, and so I'm glad for last night because it was a really fun experience. I liked getting to hear him play again. I've always enjoyed his music.
Yeah.
And it was really just fun hearing the eclectic mix of things that he's bringing out. I think it's really great.
Yeah, he's pretty dynamic, man. It's like his
Yeah.
acoustic stuff, and then if you were able to ever see some of his punk stuff.
I like how raw and emotional he is.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah. He is super raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's real. He's real.
Yeah,
that's
I
for
like
sure.
that. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. So you recently got married,
I did.
right? So your guy is a musician.
He is. We're just looking for a practice space. We're going to see what happens.
You guys are gonna start doing some stuff together?
Yeah. It'll change the dynamic a little bit because I've been playing music for so long that I'm open to some new sounds.
Right.
And we'll see what happens. It'll just be
And he's a
creative.
drummer, but he does other things too, or does he just...
He's a drummer and he plays guitar. He's primarily a drummer, but he's done a lot of metal when he was younger and things like that.
So like Misti Dawn with some
I know,
drum backing.
me with some metal influence will be interesting. He's done a lot of hip hop things too.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of part of that
pretty rad,
production.
man. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, I'm
How did you
excited to
guys
see.
meet?
We met online.
Did you?
Yeah, it was kind of this magical, he said hi and then sparks flew kind of scenario.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I feel really lucky.
2021, man. That's
Right,
going
isn't
down.
that crazy?
Well, you never know.
COVID
man.
changed a lot of things, the way we all connect to each other and how we
Yeah.
relate. And
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to talk to girls on the internet.
It is.
Creepy, but it probably helps if you have a nice haircut or you're a little good looking. Right?
It is hard to talk to people
It really
online.
is.
And more often than not, you don't really feel very much from that.
Yeah.
And so I was very surprised when I was like, wow, I feel something.
What was it?
This is different.
Was it the way that he said something, or did you?
There's something very genuine about the way he talked to me. Because people being genuine is the best way people can be with me. Because I feel kind of like as an empath and an introvert, I sort of I'm always looking around and I'm always sensing everything around me. And if I feel like something's not quite right, then I kind of clam up. And just instantly, he felt genuine.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
you started with hi, and then I'm sure you said hi back, and then he said
Yeah,
something
well,
that was like,
so are you familiar with the movie Tank Girl?
I'm not.
So there's this silly scene in Tank Girl. But anyway, I was sad and I was using Facebook to vent because I was just in a lonely, kind of empty space in my life at the time and working through some things. And he said, "Why are you so dad?" And I was like, sad, mad, glad, because that was from Tank Girl.
Okay.
And it made me kind of smile because it made me think of something nostalgic and happy for me. And then we just started talking from there. It just all started from a typo, really.
Or was it?
Or
maybe he's just that
I don't
clever.
know. Maybe
Fellas
he's just
out
that
there,
good. I don't know how he would have known that, but
Right?
yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
awesome. That's great. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thanks
so
for asking.
another thing that I want to talk to you about, because I've seen you around, and before I met you, I had seen you a few times, and I just love your tattoos.
Oh, thank
So
you.
tell us a little bit about that. I mean, it can't be it can't feel the best. So I don't know how, and you're just you have them in some really painful places.
I do have a lot. So my arms are still in process. I have a galaxy sleeve for that truck. And it has a rattlesnake that goes all the way around, and it's about breaking cycles because I haven't always had a happy home life, as most people I'm sure can relate. And not to say anything about any of that now, I'm in a good place with it, but just processing how life goes and living in the woods you eat a lot of weird things like rattlesnake.
Wow.
So, and I also grew up in Palomar Mountain that has that observatory. And so Galaxy Sleeve makes sense. But it's been quite a journey. This has gone through some different design processes and it's still healing. I've got stuff on it right now so you can't really see it very well. And then this one's kind of about like night to day, life to death. Still in process as well, working on that. I have my hummingbirds that are about enjoying the little moments, because the hummingbirds are always moving so fast, you don't usually get to like stop and enjoy them.
Right.
My favorite flowers, my bleeding heart blossoms, just seemed like the best place for them.
What was your very, very first tattoo?
A Celtic heart on my back.
Really?
Yeah.
And how old were you when you got your first tattoo?
18 or 19.
Did you go to a shop or did you have the...
I did. I went to Apex. Jason Bradham was my first artist.
Oh, cool. So once you got your first one, were you like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this?
Yeah, I got Little Wings after that. And then about 15 years later, we made my wings be my whole back.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So,
that was probably painful, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long process too, for sure.
I've seen people they want wings and then they get the little ones because they realize how painful it is.
Mm-hmm. I should have just gone for big wings from the very beginning.
That's pretty ballsy, man. Big back tattoos. So after you got your first tattoo, how long did it take you to get your second one?
Oh, I go through periods of time where I'll get like 5 or 6 tattoos in a year and then not get any for 3 or 4 years.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So you talked a little bit about your family. Are your folks are they still around? Or?
Yeah, they live in Colburn still. My sister lives here in Grand Junction. And we're not super close, but we talk sometimes. And they make sure the youngest one gets to see them. And
okay. Is your sister older than you or younger?
Younger.
I'm sorry?
Younger.
Younger?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we were talking a little bit off camera just about some of the dark stuff that you do on your originals.
Sure.
And you mentioned just a little bit earlier about how when you do covers, it kind of like, you know, you can kind of fly under the radar and not really have to like expose yourself. Mm-hmm. What's your process? Like like a lot of artists I hear that, you know, it's like what they're going through at the time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like parables and stories and just like this total like creative, just not even really related. Like what's your process?
So I don't always write in the moment, and if I do, I never put music to it right away because I know it's going to shift on me, because as I process it, I'm going to end up changing it. Because I never want to write a song that is just pure raw sadness or pure raw anger, because when I play it again, I have to relive it. So I don't want to relive all that. And so I always try to process through it some and put some sort of lesson to it for my own sake, just so I can remind myself that like, this is the process, this is life. Like, and because I don't ever really, I know it brings me down, and I know that sad songs, I love listening to sad songs, but like playing my own sad songs, I don't love as much. After a little practicing, it gets a little raw, it gets a little uncomfortable.
Do you sometimes like get emotional as you're doing your songs?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Is that uncomfortable, like to do that on stage, or?
Oddly, no.
Yeah.
It's more uncomfortable at home when I'm playing through them. When I'm on stage, I can kind of switch into performance mode, or just be like, it doesn't matter, I'm performing these, I can just feel through it, it's gonna work for the performance, whatever it is, it is. Like, I can just get through it then, I can kind of get out of my head because I'm already there doing it. But at home, I get a little stuck in my head.
Do people in the audience come up to you sometimes afterwards and be like, man, that just really touched me, or like?
Yeah, they do, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Last night I got probably one of the best compliments I've ever had. And I was told I was fucking magical.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Thank you so much.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So you start with the lyrics, and then
I do
music later?
I
So
do.
is it poetry? Have you always written?
Yeah, I've always written poetry.
And so when you write, do you write like in a cadence, like an iambic pentameter type of like?
I usually think, kind of, yes. And I don't always try to rhyme. Whenever I try to rhyme, that's where it starts to go bad. I start overthinking it, and it just becomes kind of weird and not as good. But sometimes those happen naturally. Typically, I'll think in like, here's 4 lines. Like, keep it like 4 lines at a time or something. like that, just to kind of give it a rhythm.
So, do you have music out? Do you record? Do you record yourself?
I have done some recordings, but I don't really have any solo recordings currently. I have recordings from my previous project, Landward Rogues, that was a little more of a collaborative effort there. So it's different. What I have solo is a little different.
Are you interested in perhaps like recording some of your solo stuff?
I am. I'm in the middle of kind of experimenting with new sounds.
Really?
So I just want to kind of see where I end up for a while. Right now, I feel like I'm a little all over the place. When I play mandolin, I do some classical and some Celtic, some Italian. I do my own covers on the mandolin too, and they have a different feel to them than they do on the ukulele. And so I feel like I have 3 instruments I use, and I utilize them all a little differently, and my sounds are all over the place, so to record right now feels a little counterproductive.
When you get to the point where you start recording, do you think that you'll do your own recording, or do you think you'll go to a studio, or
I'll see what my
friends that...
Yeah, I'll see what my options are when I'm ready.
Have you recorded yourself before?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I don't really have any equipment. I pretty much just have my phone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's 2021. It's a lot easier than you think.
Right, there's a lot of options.
Yeah.
There is. Yeah, I haven't explored them yet.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit off camera.
Yeah, I like that.
Really cool programs. You can get some programs. Some programs are free, and then you can layer your stuff. And
cool.
Guitar and mandolin and then ukulele. And
yeah.
Vocals is
always be cool to have all the pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do it all. It's like you turn into like the whole band yourself. If
sure.
You wanted to.
That would
so
be
cool.
fun.
Yeah. Have you done any collaborations?
Not recently.
Not recently?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still kind of getting back in the swing of things. The day job started back up.
Okay.
And I have 15 or 16 music students right now too.
Oh, wow.
So I'm working about 50 hours a week and then trying to perform on top of all that.
Holy
so I'm a little,
man.
Right now I'm a little upside down. The whole work-life balance thing is upside down. But as I navigate that, I will be open to collaboration for sure. Yeah.
I think that would be so awesome to see you like just outside of your element, and that, or maybe like contributing to like some that looks. I just love to see like, artists come together and then create something that's totally different than what each of them are doing.
I love collaborating.
Yeah.
Especially with mandolin, because I feel like I've got a good balance of playing by ear and technical everything with the mandolin, because I've been playing mandolin for about 30 years now. So that's the one I really like to kind of stretch my skills and get more comfortable with and see like, well, how does this fit in this scenario? And like, what can I do with this? And it's a fun one for me.
Wow, that's pretty. So the depth of you talking about, kind of going back a little bit to some of your dark stuff.
Yeah.
And you like sad music, and it seems like you mentioned 2 emotions when you were talking about writing. You talked about anger and you talked about sadness.
Yeah.
So and a little bit off camera, we don't have to get too deep into it if you don't want to, but you mentioned a little bit about abandonment. Is that from family or past relationships?
If anything, I'd say it's more from poverty.
Okay.
I think poverty puts people into survival mode, and survival mode often leaves people behind, whether it's emotionally or physically or whatever the case may be. I think not living from an advantaged, I don't know if that's even the word I'm looking for, not living from like a place of advantage and lack of resources, like I hesitate to say it really comes from people. I think it comes from situations. Experiences.
Was that growing up with your family, or was that after
Somewhat.
you went on your own?
Somewhat. I mean, we had some hard times. I remember when I was younger, I was only like 8 or 9, and I had to babysit my sister who was 4 years younger than me. And it was just because that was what we had to do.
Yeah.
Like, I really have no ill will or anger or anything towards my family about any of it. But it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. And then as an adult coming into my own, I never really felt like I was understood, which of course is a theme. Right. It's a theme with growing up. And then just not having a lot of great examples of relationships. I know I put myself in some situations that were not ideal for me. And so there's that too.
Did you have a good relationship with each other when you were growing up?
Yeah, they're still together. There was some tumultuous times, just as there are, Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think poverty is it's big, and you know, just like not having an abundance, not having enough, and then like the feelings of like inadequacy.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, coming out of survival mode is very hard. When you live in survival mode as a homeless child, it's really hard, no matter what happens, to come back out of that. And I think there's some thought processes that just kind of get cemented into your brain, and it's a challenge to work through.
Did you find that the residual of that tumultuous kind of situations that you had, or just the poverty growing up, did that translate or did that affect like your early relationships when you were kind of
Absolutely.
becoming a young adult?
Yeah, because if I was given attention, I'd be like, oh, I like this one. I'm getting attention. You know, there was a lot of attention seeking. And if I'd say there's one like problem, one theme I've had throughout my life is like, I want that attention. But at the same time, I'm an introvert and don't want the attention. So it kind of makes me at war with myself over it. And I know in the past I've made some decisions that were not the best for me just based on attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, and that's kind of something that I relate to a little bit too, is because I do comedy and I do, you know, I've been on stage and I do that, and people are like, man, you're just like a people person, and you're just like, you don't mind and you're not scared, and it's like, actually I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
You know, when I was growing up, I was really shy, and don't ask me why I do what I do on stage and why I do that. It's kind of like, you know, it contradicts, but it's also in this way, it's like overcoming at the same time.
Yeah, you kind of overcome yourself when you go into performance mode. You're like, nope, I got this. I can do this. Okay, here I am. I'm doing this now, you know. But then when you come down off of that, sometimes it's really exhausting.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, because when in your live performance, you exude this like woman confidence, this like power feminine energy.
Oh, thanks.
This,
I've worked really hard to find that within myself.
And
I'm
think,
glad
you
you see that.
The vulnerability that you're able to like, it takes a lot of balls
Thank you.
To do that. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And I don't know, it's like, wow, it's like this is a person who you wouldn't, it's just like, I think a lot of artists can relate to that. It's like, how do you do that? And it's like, we don't know, or the artists, it's just hard to put it in words.
I see that within myself. I see that strength. I just don't always feel it.
Right.
You know, and so it's good for me to perform as much as possible, because it helps me to express that and be okay with that and see, oh, people will accept me as I am. I don't have to be this mousy little quiet thing. I don't have to, you know, like it helps me to feel sociable in a world where I have a hard time being sociable.
Cool. Well, I hope to just through this interview that people are out there are like can be inspired by that, because
I hope so too.
To know the backstory, when you see someone on stage, you're just like, wow, like I can never be that, and then you get to know them a little bit off stage, and it's like that person is just like me, you know. It's like I could be that, I could. And then that's inspiring them to like push themselves out of their comfort zones and to live a more fuller, freer life.
Yeah, I think, honestly, what I really want is I just want to be, my main goals have always been to be comfortable and to be genuine. Like, I don't want to have to hide from myself or from anyone else. And I don't want to be uncomfortable in the sense that I have to go back into survival mode. And I want to be aware, and I want to push myself, and I want all these things, but there's also a dark side to that, where you push yourself so much to the point that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm scared, I'm gonna go hide again. You know, like it's hard to find that balance sometimes. I'm always striving for that balance.
Yeah, it's very authentic.
Of growth versus healing.
That's a great message, really. It really is.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh yeah, thank you for helping me to express that. That's a weird one to express. It's a hard one to describe. Yeah.
Cool. Right on. So we know that you're going to be doing some more live performances in the future.
I am.
And we know that you're working and you're kind of have these plans of doing some stuff with your husband.
Yeah.
And kind of going outside your comfort zone and doing some different things. So we're really looking forward to that.
Me too.
How do we stay in touch with you? How do we get a hold of you? Maybe social media plugs or anything like that?
Yeah, sure. I have Instagram, Facebook. I try to have flyers out there and cards out there at
Okay.
different places. I'm always open to more students. Like even though I've got so much work going on right now, I really enjoy music teaching. I find that to be very fulfilling as well. And so I try to have flyers, cards, Instagram, Facebook. I'm playing on the 28th at Enzo's. Again, it's going to be
On August
another
28th at
it's going to be
Enzo's.
another mandolin set, so I'll have some Italian and classical mandolin and some covers and originals.
Cool.
Good mix of things.
For your Facebook, what's your name on Facebook?
It's just Misti Dawn Music.
Okay, and that's M-I, can you spell it for us?
MISTIDAWN Music.
Okay.
Yep,
and-
same thing with Instagram.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Misti Dawn Music. All right, so I'll put the links in the description. I'll try to put it, and I'll put it on
Great.
the screen so that they can plug you in and find
Ah,
out.
thank you. Yeah.
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 Cool. So I have a couple questions here. We're gonna go ahead and get close to wrapping this up. But lately, what I've been doing, it's been kind of fun, is we call it kind of like the hot seat. I just ask you some questions, and then we
Okay.
just kind of run through these. And
Yeah.
most of these are pretty fun.
Okay.
Okay. So my first question on the hot seat: dogs or cats?
Cats.
Cats. Why cats?
They're very independent.
Right.
And I like that they're very genuine in the sense that they're not necessarily people pleasers.
Right.
They do what they want. They're cuddly when they want.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to be a dog guy. I'm a total cat guy now.
Yeah. And I love dogs. I love petting dogs. I love talking to dogs. But I'm not a great dog owner. I'm just
Yeah.
not as consistent as I'd like to be.
They require a lot.
Yeah.
Cats are kind of
yeah.
always a little too good for you. I always think. You
I
know.
love cats so much.
I love cats too. I love the abuse. I guess. Okay, if you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would that artist be?
Oh, wow. Okay, so the first one that comes to mind is David Bowie.
Okay.
I love David Bowie. Loved David. I don't know. I miss David Bowie.
Let's dance.
Right?
Right?
I love David Bowie. I'm not even sure what that collaboration would look like, but he's one of my favorites.
That's a good answer. David Bowie's money, man. Okay. Let's see. What is your favorite food?
French toast.
French toast. Cool. If you had to choose between Prince or Michael Jackson?
Prince.
Prince. Why?
Prince is not complicated in my head. Michael Jackson is kind of a complicated story. Prince is just like fun and like sex and
Right.
like there's just something very all-encompassing about Prince that I really enjoy. He's very genuine, very
Prince is real.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Do you have any last words or any pieces of little pieces of information maybe about yourself that we didn't discuss that might be interesting?
I could tell you some weird little facts about me.
Sure.
I love teapots,
Okay.
like a little old lady.
Do you have a teapot tattoo?
No, not yet.
Not
Not yet. I love teapots. I love roller skating. I love
Yeah, roller
vintage
skating.
clothes. Mini golf is fun.
Mini golf.
I just really try to enjoy fun things whenever I can. I feel like life is so heavy. It can be really heavy. Like, why not enjoy yourself as you're going along?
I like it.
Yeah.
And roller skating. Have you ever fallen and hurting yourself?
Oh, so many times.
Hurting yourself? Really? Did I just say that?
So many times. But it's the last time I fell, I actually caught myself in a really good way, and I was very proud of myself. I'm like, yeah, I fell and didn't hurt myself. But that's the first time in a while.
You've had injuries roller skating?
I've had more injuries with swing dancing than I have with roller skating.
Oh yeah, swing dancing. Tell us a little bit about that. 'Cause I know that you were
Yeah.
doing some lessons at the park.
I was really heavy into the swing dance scene for a while, but that kind of just fell apart. We don't really have one here in Junction anymore. It's a lot of effort for very little return,
Yeah.
ultimately. And so, but I've done lots of ballroom and swing dancing and Latin for about the last 20
I
years.
took a swing dancing class in college. I got a C, but it was fun.
It sounds like
And I
fun.
still learned how to do. I still know how to do some things. I can swing dance all right.
Yeah, so I try to be a fun person. I've got like this really like deep kind of dark anxious side, but there's a lot of things I really enjoy
Awesome.
about life.
Well, we look forward to seeing you on stage, and we look forward to hearing more about you. And I'd love to sit down and talk with you down the road as things start to
Yeah.
progress with your
Yeah.
with your relationship, with your music,
Yeah.
with things that are going on. I think people would like that. And so thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We're in the middle of August. It's not too hot in the shade, right?
Yeah, it's not terrible right now.
Right.
It's pretty nice actually.
And this guy on the skateboard, he's already done like 9 laps.
Right? It's gonna.
And he's probably just getting some exercise.
Yeah. I'll be out here later with the roller skates.
Yeah. All right, Misti Dawn, thank you so much for sitting
Thank
down
you.
with us.
Yeah.
And signing out.
Sweet.
Peace.